it's no secret that I love Resident Evil games very much.
Is this where we're going with this?
That is where we were going with this. So last time we recorded, I think we released it last week. We talked about the first 3 Resident Evil games. I want to continue to talk about Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil 6. Because I have, since we talked about the Resident Evil games, I am hardcore getting back into getting way back into my love for Resident Evil. Something about it just really just, I think talking about it and kind of revisiting the lore stuff really. So I beat 1, I beat the original 2, and I started 2 Remake. And I stopped because we have a newborn to take care of that requires a bit, and since my wife had to go back to the hospital and I was with newborn and my 4-year-old, didn't really have much time to play games. Surprisingly enough. I mean, I know that's hard to understand, but so I stopped, and then I just looked up a big huge list of if you want the full Resident Evil canon, every piece of the story, everything, where do you start and how do you go through in order? And there's manga books, there's reading the book, certain books, there's reading certain reports and files in the game, insane. It's an insane amount of shit that I'm going to be doing for quite a while.
You're following a walkthrough?
No, I'm not following a walkthrough.
Bullshit.
It's
bullshit.
So I'll give you an example.
Bullshit.
It says to listen to, or read Wesker's Report 2 and Wesker's Report. So that gives the backstory of how Wesker was intertwined with Umbrella, how he started as a young teenager to work in the science lab. I think he was 19 at the time, and he was working side by side with William Birkin, who the creator of the G virus.
All due respect, can't you get this same thing out of the wiki?
So it's basically so I listened. They actually, for the anniversary, they had the voice of Wesker from Resident Evil 5 read that report. So you can just throw in headphones and listen to it, which I did, and it was fantastic. Or if you bought the Resident Evil Archive books, which I own, surprisingly enough, you can just read it, or you can read it online. Whatever you want to do, however you want to consume it.
I put my headphones on and I listened to this man read this report, and suddenly I didn't want to be married anymore. I found a new love.
So they did that, and then
I'm
it says
tearing up. God.
After those files, it's Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1 Remake, and then it tells you the order to play, and then if there's a comic or a book that you have to read, it'll have that read that, and it'll give you the.
So it's a walkthrough.
You're not reading a walkthrough for
No,
the
you don't
games.
read the walkthrough. You follow the walkthrough.
No, you follow the
Order
list of
set
things
in
to
the-
do. It's so when you say when you say walkthrough,
So butter.
when you say walkthrough, I think of a strategy guide where you're it's telling you how what to do in the game, but that's
Dude.
not what it is.
If this were 25 years ago, that's literally what it would be.
It's
You would only
just-
get that in a printed fucking guide.
It's a list, and you just fucking check off what you've done.
We all know what it is. It's okay. You're allowed.
But anyway,
you're allowed.
back
You're
to what I was originally getting at. Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. So, Resident Evil 4, absolute masterpiece. No doubt about it. You can never argue that. It's fantastic. It's perfect. The original, the remake, both of them, just 10 out of 10s. absolute just perfection.
I don't like that they jumped all the way to the frickin' president from 3. Because 3 was like, oh, we have this problem locally. I'm this little policeman.
So that's where the lore.
Right, but
Lore, Andy.
I think they went a little far.
Not
too
when
quickly.
not when you know how they got there.
How did? Okay. Oh, somebody. The president randomly comes into play.
You just
great
had a
game.
town get blown up.
That clearly is not happening in one town.
And
It can't be.
that's where it started in Raccoon City.
Also, I got.
But they figured out who was behind it, which is a global organization. They have people over in Europe and stuff like that. Like Umbrella Europe was the one that sent Nemesis to Raccoon City.
Fair enough. All the same, if I'm the president and my daughter is kidnapped, I'm probably not sending the guy that just drugged himself through hell.
That's the perfect person you go through.
Oh yeah, the fatigued, tired.
So I'll read a brief little summary of it because we did it with the other
It is
ones.
a great game.
So players control the special agent Leon S. Kennedy if you've played Resident Evil 2.
Whoa. Is this man one of the Kennedys? Is he?
He's on a mission to rescue the U.S. President's daughter, Ashley Graham, who has been kidnapped by a religious cult in rural Spain. Leon fights hordes of enemies infected by a mind-controlling parasite and reunites with the spy Ada Wong.
Is she from Jurassic Park? Wasn't his name Wong?
I hate you so much. Dude, this game was it was a good balance of action, of horror and stuff. It was just a good balance of everything. Oh god, it's so good.
Oh, I better stop this or somebody's gonna think I'm doing something.
It's it really took being able to get a currency to upgrade your weapons, buy new ones, find new ones, and just have this arsenal that you can constantly do.
Currency?
Yeah, you had the pesetas. Because you would be able to sell stuff to the merchant, buy upgrades, buy bigger cases, attaché cases.
I forgot they had that. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you forget that they had that? Then they had all the jewels and stuff you could find, the spinels and the rubies and sapphires.
Because I
and
literally haven't played this since.
then
it
you
came
can. Oh my god!
somebody doesn't ever invite me over.
You can play it at your house. You have a PlayStation 4.
One other game. That's here.
Take it.
Well, no, I'd rather come over here and play it with my friend.
I would love to stream some games, but newborn life and stuff.
Yeah, well, he can come down here.
Probably, yeah. Yeah,
Wait a minute. What's the national currency of Spain?
you're asking. I'm not a currency expert.
What is this? It's not the peso. That's Mexico.
Is it what they use? Pesetas?
I don't think so.
You're the Google man. You can
Yeah.
look it up. Yeah, but you get the so Resident Evil 2 is a lot of people's favorite Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4 is also a lot of people's favorite Resident Evil as well. You get what? That's grandparents. They had brought Lydia back.
So they use the euro now like the rest of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It was the peseta.
Ah!
They were frickin' accurate. That's... I love it when games
And
do
they
shit.
actually speak Spanish too, like real Spanish in the game.
There's fake, so not
Well,
Spanglish.
there's like Spain Spanish, and then there's like Mexican Spanish.
Well, it's called a dialect, but to your point, yes.
I
you know.
literally was watching.
Yeah.
Oh, there, we're back.
Oh snap!
That was interesting.
That don't happen often.
No, not at all.
We're taking down an alien. Where
What were we saying?
pesetas, Spanish.
Oh,
in the game.
he was saying about how Spanish was his first language, and when he was playing Resident Evil 4, he heard them speaking Spanish and like could understand what they were saying, and like what they were saying actually coincides with what they're doing. So he would know what they were going to do before they started to do it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He said it was like a cool little experience, but then there was like parts where he listened to what they said and be like, "Oh, that's different."
I thought it was the Escudo still, but that hasn't. Evidently, that stopped in 1869. So I'm quite a ways off. Not playing Jeopardy on that one.
But the gameplay for this, like they had like the over the shoulder, which I think changed the way that you played those kinds of games. Like over the shoulder, that was like the standard. And Resident Evil 4, if you've played the first Devil May Cry, that came from an early version of Resident Evil 4. I remember when they started advertising it in magazines, they were showing like this supernatural like type of look where it was like super dark with like the white lights and someone's using the sink. And it was like it looked weird. And they tried the fixed camera angles with that. And if you see, you can look up like early Resident Evil 4 footage and be like, and see like what it looked like. I think there's even ways that you can play it if you're good with like emulators and stuff. But Devil May Cry came from the early version of Resident Evil, because then they scrapped it because they thought it was too far from the Resident Evil formula, which thank God, because we got this. And then they remade it, which I will admit at first I was like, why? Why do they need to remake it? And so I was very like, they could have spent their hard-earned dollars remaking like Resident Evil Code Veronica or the Outbreak games or whatever. Like, why do you need to remake 4?
Because.
And then it came out, and I was like, thank you. Thank you for remaking this game, because goddamn, this is great.
Whoa.
It was, I got the special edition.
Lord's name in vain.
So good. So good. Resident Evil 5. A lot of people are divided on this one. So a lot of people there are some people that like this game because it was the first one that you could play co-op. So you could play co-op split screen, and then you could also play co-op online. So you had Chris, the returning Chris Redfield, and Sheva. So when they started advertising this game,
It's not Shiva.
I think it's pronounced Sheva.
I don't really care, but
So when they started advertising this in the Game Informers and stuff, they were advertising it like the sun was like a main factor and would like affect like the way that you played or something like that. And apparently they like scrapped that idea. So Resident Evil 5.
why did they abstract the actual like area, but still call it Africa?
So I'll
There's
read
no
the
advantage to that.
I'll read the summary here. The plot involves an investigation of a terrorist threat by Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, BSAA. Agents Chris Redfield and Sheva Alomar in Kajuju, a fictional region of West Africa, Chris learns that he must confront his past in the form of an old enemy, Albert Wesker, and his former partner, Jill Valentine. So,
I never played this one. Valentine teams up with Wesker?
so Wesker, like, what you see bits of, like, a character who's in, like, a hood. You see, like, pictures. And then Sheva, I believe, sees one and shows Chris, and Chris realizes that it's Jill. So, I think leading up to it, like, it's kind of, like, implied but never said. And then when you get to a certain part, she comes out and she's, like, in this blue, like, suit, and she has this thing on her chest. It's like this red, like, pendant, and it's, like, going into her chest, like a spider almost, that's, like, latched on, and she has blonde hair. So it's like this device that goes into her that controls her. So, like, you have to fight her. There's two ways that you can fight her. So, like, you can, like, shoot. If you have really good aim, you can shoot the thing on her chest. And then it'll start to spark, and you run up and you try and pull it off, and you have to do that a certain amount of times before you actually rip it out. Or you can continue to shoot it. But if you miss, you kill her, and then you get a game over. But yeah, so Wesker. So what happened is there was DLC that came out for this game. It was Desperate. Was it Desperate Escape? Where Chris and Jill are moving in on Oswald Spencer, and they find him, but he's dead, and Wesker's there. So they try and fight Wesker, but of course Wesker's all badass and, like, superpower dude where he can just, like, dodge bullets and fucking just beat the shit out of you. So Jill sees a chance to tackle him out a window. So she tackles him out this window off of this cliff. And then Chris presumes that she's dead. And he goes on the mission with BSAA to Africa with Sheva and finds out, Wesker, and then finds Jill there. So, yes. I personally really had a good time. I've played this game so many times. It's actually insane.
For a good time, call him.
It's really, really good. I mean, if you have somebody to play it with, it's even better. Because the AI Sheva is rage-inducing. I would love to play Resident Evil 5 with you. Yeah, definitely try and play it with somebody. But
we got something to eat before I go.
Yes, you do. This one is kind of like the same, like, gameplay style as 4. Like, it's the over-the-shoulder. You have the collectibles. You can sell stuff, buy stuff, find stuff. It's kind of the same. The setting, I'm not a huge fan of the setting, like the Africa setting, like. But I do like the lore in this one because you go to this garden that's in, like, this, like, cave type thing, and it's this flower that it's from the origin of Umbrella. Like, it's from, like, it's how they made the first the progenitor virus. So it's, like, where that all started. So you get that bit there of, like, lore. So that's great. I enjoy that, and Wesker dies, supposedly.
Hey, you want to start the real Umbrella?
Yeah, it's. I would say give this game a play because, especially if you have a partner, it's a little far-fetched with, Chris punching boulders, but.
You want to rephrase that?
Rephrase what?
I would say give this game a play, especially if you have a partner.
Yeah. Resident Evil 6, though. So, I was at the midnight release for Resident Evil 6 at good old GameStop.
I remember that.
And I didn't know that they had it was an anthology version that you could buy, which gave you access to the classics, I want to say, as well as 4, 5, and 6. So you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not sure if they had Code Veronica in there or not. Was very angry when I got there because I had pre-ordered it and got just the plain game. So I get back to the house and I'm like jumping right in. I'm like, I just want to play this. So I remember loading it up and like the menu screen and like the intros, like really, really weird. It's like all like webbed and like, I don't know. It's strange. I like the idea of the intertwined campaigns. I thought it was really cool to have, like, you play these 4 different campaigns because you have Chris and Piers, Ada, you have Leon and Hunnigan, and Jake and Sherry. So you have a bunch of returning characters. You have Leon, Chris, Sherry, and Ada. And at some point in those campaigns, like, they run across each other. So, like, Leon gets to meet up with Chris for the first time, and Ada gets to run across Chris, and Sherry gets to see Leon again. So, like, there's these reunions and first time, like, interactions that are, like, really cool. And each campaign plays differently. So, like, Chris and Piers is more like action, like big gun type gameplay. Leon and Hunnigan is just kind of like a regular, like, campaign for Resident Evil. Ada is like more, I think more of the same with like Leon. And Jake and Sherry's more like hand-to-hand combat type of thing. Because Sherry has like the regen abilities because she's infected, and Jake also is infected, and he's Wesker's son. So like you have that aspect. Plus, it's like a lot of running and like quick time events, I think, in that one. But I feel like they kind of didn't do it. I think where they failed was at the time the, like, Call of Duty really started, like, becoming the game to play, like, every year. Action, like, shooters were just more and more prevalent, so I feel like they were pressured to make these games, like, compete with those, where, because you have, like, you could jump back and shoot, which is a very action. You could, like, do, like, I think you could slide as well. The healing in this game is fucking terrible. I hate it. Like, I think you pick up a herb and it like fills tabs or tablets or whatever, and then you heal. Like, it's fucking stupid. I remember playing it and enjoying it, but this is the one I've played the least because there's 4 campaigns. So I think I'd like to revisit this and like give it another chance, even though I'm pretty sure I'll have the same stance with it. I am going to replay it at some point when I get to it. But